Okay, so we've got to be able to solve equations, and we're going to use our calculator to do it, or we're going to be able to use it to support some of the things that we're doing. So in this particular video, we're going to try to do these calculator things using our 83 or our 84 calculator. So we're going to start off x and y intercepts. Now, our working assumption here is that you already know that to find an x-intercept, you're going to set y equal to 0, and you're going to solve your equation. And to find a y-intercept, you're going to set x equal to 0, and you're going to solve your equation. And that'll give you where the specific values cross the x-axis and the y-axis, respectively. So here's what we do with our calculator. So if I want to do the same thing, I'm going to start with this equation. I'm going to punch in that equation, x cubed minus 4x. I'm going to put that into my calculator. So I'm going to go into my y equals, and I'm going to punch in my x cubed minus 4x, and I'm going to tell it to graph. But I want to check one thing really quickly. If your graph doesn't look just like mine, hit the zoom menu, and you're going to hear me say a lot of times this year, go to zoom standard. So choose number 6 for zoom standard. So everybody's looking at the same window, which goes from -10 to 10 for both x and for y. Now, if I want to find an x-intercept, to make it as simple as possible, to find an x-intercept, we're going to go into our favorite menu, our calculate menu. So hit your second button, and then the trace button's second feature is calculate. So hit your trace button after that. So now you're looking at the calculate menu. And in the calculate menu, there's a lot of things. We're going to use this. This is probably going to end up being your favorite menu. Another word for an x-intercept is a 0 of the function. So we're going to use the 0 command, and we'll hit enter. And now what it's going to wait for is it's going to look for me to say, I need to choose a left bound that is to the left of the value I'm trying to find. It's kind of a generic thing that this calculator likes to do. So I need a value that's over here someplace. So I can do one of two things. I can either use my left arrow key to move the spider, I like to call it, or that cursor, so that the x value is to the left on what I'm trying to find, such as where it sits right now. So I'm going to hit enter. Notice the arrowhead that it created on the screen that's saying I'm going to start looking here, and I'm going to stop looking at the right bound. So I'm going to use my arrow to move the spider until it's to the right of the value I'm trying to find, and then I'm going to hit enter again. And you'll notice I now have a range in between those two arrowheads that it's going to look within. Now, is there more than one x-intercept in that area? No, there's only one. So the guess that it's waiting for doesn't matter. So I'm going to hit enter, and there's one of my x-intercepts of this graph. The second one is going to be at the origin 0, 0. We'll get to that in a minute. Now I'm going to find the one on the far right, and I'm going to do it a little quicker. So I'm going to repeat this. Calculate menu. Choose number 2 for 0 command. But now what would be nice is if I could either use the arrow key on my calculator to move the cursor, or I could just, it would be nice if I could just use like x equals 1. So I'm going to hit the number 1 and hit enter. And then instead of moving the cursor again, it looks like a number like 4 would be a safe right bound. There's my two arrowheads. I've got it surrounded. My guess doesn't matter. Hit enter. There's my third x-intercept. So I've got one at x equals -2, one at x equals 0, and one at x equals 2. Now we shouldn't assume that that middle one is at the origin. I'm telling you it is, because now as we go to find the y-intercept, so x-intercept, we went into the calculate menu and we used the 0 command. There is no y-intercept command. Instead, we're going to use the value command. We're going to choose number 1, which is value, and we want to know, it's waiting for me to tell it what x value that I want. Well, I want a y value is when x equals 0, so punch in x equals 0, hit enter. There's my third 0 and my y-intercept for that particular graph. And by the way, this value command works at any x value that you want. So if you hit value again and you want to know what's the value of this function when x equals -1, you hit enter, and it'll tell you that it's up at y equals 3. So it's just it's a pretty valuable command for us to have. The second thing that we're going to try to solve using our calculator is we're going to try to do a system of equations. And the system of equations, what we have, we've already rearranged these equations. So I've got two different graphs that I'd like to create, and so we're going to punch them both in. So I'm going to punch in x squared minus 3 as my y1 and x minus 1 as my y2. So let's go to our calculator, and let's go to y equals. And for y1, I'm going to clear out the one that I have, and I'm going to replace it with x squared minus 3. And hit enter. And from y2, I'm going to punch in x minus 1. Hit enter. And then I'll graph. I'm already looking at the standard window, so I'm going from negative 10 to 10 for x's and for y's. But now instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the intersection of those graphs, and I can see two intersection points. And knowing that one's a parabola and one's a line, that means that's going to be all there possibly could be. So I'm going to go into my calculate menu again, but this time not value, not 0. Looks like this time I'm going to want number 5. Number 5, which is intersect. So I choose intersect, and I'm looking at now instead of it asking me for a left bound and a right bound, it's going to be asking me for the first curve and the second curve. So the first curve, it defaults to whatever y1 is. So I've got it defaulted to that graph, so I'm just going to hit enter to choose it. And then the second curve, it defaults to whatever y2 is, and I'm going to hit enter again. Now, there are two intersection points, so this is where the guess is going to be important. Because as of right now, it's going to find one or the other. It can't find both in one shot. So you can use your cursor, or use your arrow to move the cursor closer to the one you're trying to find, and then hit enter again. So I've got one solution is at the point negative 1, negative 2. And then if I repeat that to find the second one, we'll choose 5, intersect. Now this time, first curve I hit enter again, second curve I hit enter again. But now this time my guess, to make it faster, it looks like it's over there around x equals 3. So I'll punch in the number 3 and hit enter, and my intersection point is at the point 2, 1. So my two solutions are the point negative 1, negative 2, and 2, positive 1. So that's how you will handle this using your TI-83 or 84 graphing calculator.